I find it frustrating, not to, when they say, I'd like to welcome everyone that's in the room as well as those that are joining us online. Would you please join me in the pledge to the flag? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Martin, can we have attendance, please?
We have 8 school directors present tonight. Mr. Gensel is absent.
Okay, well, we have a quorum. This is our second meeting of the month where most official votes are taken, which are listed on a consent agenda, which includes those items which are routine or have been discussed at our work session. All agendas and related documents are posted on the website along with board notes. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions for the agenda?
Yes, we have 2. We had an update to the superintendent's report today. It is noted in red, and the budget presentation is updated today with the addition of slide 3.
Okay, thank you. And there was also the Market Street Sports report
That's right.
that had added the detail. That being noted, would anyone will approve of the agenda as being presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Are there any nays or abstentions? If not, we have an agenda. And we will start with board commendations, which is the board's opportunity to recommend staff and students for exceptional achievements. Congratulations to Conestoga Valley High School senior Bennett Whittaker, who was recognized by the National Cyber Scholarship Foundation for outstanding achievement in cybersecurity. Whittaker was named a National Cyber School for his performance in a challenging online cybersecurity training program made up against thousands of school students across the nation by solving real-world cybersecurity problems, and earned an invitation to participate in the Cyber Foundation's Academy. Congratulations to students at Gerald Huskin Middle School who won the award for Outstanding Career Paths in the What's So Cool About Manufacturing video contest. They partnered with High Steel to create a video highlighting the opportunities High Steel has to offer. Congratulations to Brownstown Elementary music teacher Drew Bullington, who was chosen as a Teacher of the Year for Lancaster Levin Music Educators Association. And Conestoga Valley School District was again named a Best Community for Music by the National Association of Music Merchants. This marks the 11th time CV has received that distinction. The Best Communities for Music Education acknowledging over 1,000 school districts over the United States for the commitment and support of music education. Congratulations to Conestoga Valley High School junior Jason DeChristopher, who was named a Paradise Rotary Student of the Month for the month of April. DeChristopher was recognized for excellence, achievement, positive involvement, and being an overall exceptional student. Congratulations to Fritz Elementary student Lily Liu, who was named the Grand Prize winner for grades 3 through 5 for PP&L's poster contest. Lou was a student in Vicky Souter's class. Students were tasked with creating a poster to demonstrate how they would save energy and help the environment. Lou will receive a $100 Amazon gift card as well as a $100 award towards a pizza ice cream party for her entire class. I think I'll visit that class that week. The Lancaster CTC announced its honor roll for the third marking period of 23-24 school year, and congratulations to 29 Conestoga Valley High School students who were named to the honor roll. Students must maintain a grade average of 90 or above to earn honor roll status. Congratulations to Laura Odell, CVVA elementary teacher, and Dory Shetter, CVVA elementary coordinator, for being chosen to present Enhancing Virtual Learning with in-person options at the Capital Area Online Learning Association. Members of the High School Science Olympiad competed against 26 other schools in the region. Some students competed in as many as 5 separate events, and medals were run by teams in 2 events. Congratulations to the place winners. Third place, Naomi Longi and Genesis Kuja Morera in a forestry event. and 5th place for Marco Valles and Dev Marwaha in the chemistry lab event. I think that concludes a long list of accomplishments for our students. Superintendent's comments. Dr. Hart?
Good evening. Excited to have a few new staff members to introduce this evening. It actually kind of is starting to feel like it did right when I started here back in the summer, where every board meeting we had 4 or 5 or 6 new employees. So we're getting to that time of year again. So we actually have several on the agenda this evening. All of the new positions are for next year. They're not for current openings, they're for the start of next year. And they all happen this time to fall under the special education or pupil services realm. So definitely super excited, super happy for our admin team and proud of our admin team for being out in front of the 8 ball with hiring, especially in the area of special education. We know that those are difficult positions to fill. And so we were on it early, and we have some great results and some great new additions to our team. So first, one of the new recommendations who's going to be on, who is in my superintendent's report, who could not be here tonight, is Katie Bainbridge, who we're hiring for a life skills position. She currently lives in Ohio. She's been teaching in Ohio for a few years, so I didn't think it was right to make her travel east just to be introduced tonight. So, but she is moving to the area this summer in June or July, and she promised that once she's here and she's settled, we'll get her at a school board meeting. So I won't say anything about her because we'll introduce her later. So first up, we have Holly Rose Weiniger, who's going to be middle school autism. Holly began her teaching career as a first grade teacher with the Warwick School District, and she's been an autism support teacher with IU 13 for this past year. And if she looks familiar, that's because she was teaching in the IU's autism classroom that was housed here at our middle school. And with us taking that program over next year, she decided she wanted to stay here with us, and she's done a really fantastic job with that program. And so we were excited to have her stay and join our team. So she's a graduate of Millersville University. She has her bachelor's in early childhood and special education, and we're excited for her to stay with us, but now officially as a Buckskid. So welcome, Holly. Next is Austin Sauter. Austin will be a learning support teacher at Smoketown Elementary School. So Austin's a graduate of Cocalico School District, but we promised him we wouldn't hold that against him. He's going to be graduating this spring from Millersville with a bachelor's in early childhood and special education. And he recently completed his student teaching in the Warwick School District. So happy to have Austin with us. Next is Isabella Calderon. So Isabella graduated this last spring from Lebanon Valley College with a bachelor's in communication science and disorders, and she'll be graduating from Lebanon Valley again this spring with a master's in speech and language pathology. She's also a Conestoga Valley alumni, so if she looks familiar to any of you, she was a very involved student when she was here from my understanding. So she recently completed clinical experiences at Penn State Hershey Rehabilitation Hospital as well as Penn Manor School District. And while at LVC, she served as a research assistant, a graduate student, completed a graduate student clinical and a social group community program leader. So we're excited to have her and her wealth of expertise she's bringing us. So welcome, Bella.
Can I ask to see who Holly was? I missed her.
Sure.
Hi, thank you, Holly.
Hiding in the corner back there.
Yes, it was so quick.
One more. Erin Nauer. I knew I was not going to get that right. So, Erin's also an autism support teacher. And she'll be at Smoketown Elementary School. So, Erin has her bachelor's in early childhood education with a minor in music education from Elizabethtown College, as well as her master's degree in special education from E-Town. She's currently completing her special education field placement in an ES class at the Columbia School District, and she's also completed student teaching placements with the School District of Lancaster and Palmyra. So, welcome, Erin. Go Blue Jays.
Yes. Is that it? Okay. Well, we want to welcome all of you. Is that it?
That concludes my report.
Okay. board comments for any, about any activities in the district? Well, there was, as you see in front of you, the Distinguished Alumni Program again this year. I knew two of these people, so I don't know quite what that says about how long I've been here, but it is wonderful to see the kinds of accomplishments that our graduates do. And the remarks they come back and make to us about how they feel Conestoga Valley made that difference in their lives and their futures. Is there any correspondence? Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
wanted to say too that I did get to this and very impressed and very disappointed that I haven't been to previous ones. The timing was poor, and Dan and I were talking about this. This is something that needs to be available to our students and our community. I mean, these stories are wonderful and inspiring, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good program, yeah.
plus, two of them, there were three who attended, only one had family. The other two, neither of their families could be there. You know, so,
Well, a lot of them don't live in the area anymore. Yeah,
the one does,
yeah, okay.
but
We,
being at that time was not.
you know, that program has changed. We used to have the people that nominate them present them, so
Mhm.
we need to talk to the foundation maybe to see if we can't cooperate to
Mhm.
highlight that program a little better.
Oh, definitely,
Okay.
thank you.
Correspondence. Mrs.
Yeah, if you can just please complete the IU13 board membership ballot that's laying in front of you, and just make sure I get that tonight before you leave. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the one with the names
Oh,
listed.
this, thank you.
We have some presentations this evening, our home and school visitors are going to give us an update. We have Carly DiClemente, Jenna Mabel, and Katie Reach. I don't know which is which, but that's who they are.
Well, we'll introduce yourselves. I'm Katie Reif, I'm the elementary school social worker.
Carla DiClemente, school social worker for the high school and K through 12 for Spanish speaking families.
Jenna Mabel, I'm the social worker at the middle school.
Well, thank you for having us. We always like coming and giving our little update every year, so we appreciate being invited again. So just a few highlights to note. We again did our holiday support. We actually had about within 5 to 10 students, the same amount that we served last year. So we were pretty consistent in our serving of students. We served 535 kids, birth to up to 12th grade, and that consisted of 225 families. So that's a lot of service. 40 of those students were with the Shop with a Buck program. We pulled the number back just a little bit to kind of regroup and restructure the program a little bit to make it more intentional, and just focus on making sure every student in our district is being served with the right level of need. So we did a little bit of reconfiguring there. Gift card support. So we're very blessed. Churches, community members will just donate gift cards, and we're lucky enough to have locked drawers full of gift cards to be able to use at any time that we could encounter a family that might need a little extra. So we were able to serve $3,030 so far out of our little drawers. So we're very grateful to the community, to the local churches. We often get an influx of extra, despite always being worried that we'll never get enough gift cards at holiday time. We always get what our needs are, plus a little extra that we can share and then be able to bless families throughout the year. And then our CV Ministerium, along that same line of support. So far, we've gotten $2,557.81 worth of rental assistance, PP&L assistance, any utility, anything that a family is coming to us, as long as it fixes the problem. Let's use an eviction, for instance. If our $250 isn't gonna stop their eviction,
generally speaking, we save our funds to use on another situation that would actually prevent an eviction or so forth. So we're continually blessed by them. I think our balance at our last meeting, they're like, are you spending money? Because we have money for you to spend. We're like, well, we're trying to be, good stewards of their funds. So we have, I think our balance is at like 4,500 that they have for us to just use as we need it. So shoes for a kiddo or whatever we need, we just go out and buy and fortunately get reimbursed by them. So we're very blessed by that partnership with them. And then another highlight, we've really taken on groups this year. At the secondary level, we've run grief groups, and then I, at the elementary level, have been doing groups with the emotional support classrooms, the life skills classrooms, and foundations. So I'm focusing in on those areas of special education and providing weekly for the emotional support and then monthly for life skills and foundations classes of just social skills, getting to know me. I'm working closely with their family, so just kind of bridging that gap through more intentional work in the classrooms. Ready for the next slide. So we wanted to also include, for those that don't know what school social workers do or homeschool visitors, a slide with a visual of what we do, which is pretty much whatever it takes. So to remove barriers to a student's academic success. So we tried to make connections with community agencies, of course, like Katie just named, within our community, even with other districts and getting support for our families, or even just connecting with other districts to make that transition smooth for students when they are coming here as well. So part of that is also our own personal growth within our careers and within our district. So we have also been a part of different district initiatives, PBIS, that is a big undertaking this school year, especially at the high school. So PBIS and then MTSS, which PBIS falls under that MTSS umbrella. So we've been working hard to get those up and running in our buildings. As Katie mentioned, the classroom and building support, we've been trying to, be available for our teachers, our teams, lunch duties, morning duties, classroom support if there's teachers out and we can't find subs. Also a trauma-informed work group, so we're trying to make sure that, we are aligning with trauma-informed practices and being a part of a district-wide group to hopefully initiate some of those practices next school year. As well as, partnering with our community, which Katie named. We are very grateful for those partnerships, especially CVCCS, that we collaborate with food resources and seeds. That has been a huge help in our community as well with especially our ESL families that are coming here. And they are working towards also meeting some of the housing assistance that sometimes we just can't. We assist families as best as we can with the time that we have, but Seeds is going to be able to walk alongside them to make some of those calls for, rentals, budgeting, those types of things that take a little bit more time than we're able to provide our families. So some of the district-wide things that we've been trying to be a part of.
Switch. So this is what we utilize to keep track of the data on a daily basis. So this represents a lot of the different referrals and or services that we provide to our families. I think of particular interest or I think something that is important to note is death of a parent or sibling. So the number there, I think it's important to note that represents how many students have lost a parent in our district this year alone. Hence the reason for bringing more grief groups into our buildings to help those students cope with the losses that they have experienced, as well as to incorporate other children that we didn't maybe know about that have lost a parent or maybe a house, or, loss is loss. So we're utilizing those groups to help bridge the gap for them as they process, their losses. I think another interesting number, which Carla will speak about, because I think she can very eloquently talk about the number of Spanish-speaking families that we have in our district, that I am sad that I cannot provide the excellence of service that Carla can. And you know, sometimes that, at least for me, that does present a barrier in being able to build a rapport with a family, connect with a family. So, you know, checking in phone calls, that can look like a lot of different things. It can be checking in with families. I know for myself, I talk a lot to the resources that we're referring to do follow-ups, getting students assistance in enrolling in other districts and helping those transitions be fluid so that our students don't lose any academic time. We both talked about our home visits this year, which we all said were somewhat lower than maybe what we would have thought. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. I think it just is a thing. So I think that's a good representation of how we spend our days, although I would have to add that that's probably not all-inclusive, because once you get motoring through your day, it's really hard to go back and try to fill in those gaps of, you know,
What did I do?
what you were doing, and you start something, you get interrupted. I mean, I think we all function that way sometimes in our work environments. Carla?
Well, just to go back to the Spanish piece, so the referrals for that are more intentional. It's not just the daily conversations with students or the transferred phone calls to say, I don't know what this parent is saying, can you help them? Or the, you know, parents that come to the lobby. So that's more intentional. Like, we need to, you know, are you able to help with a, you know, like an IEP meeting, or if I need to tag in as a interpreter as a last resort. So it's nice in case, so then we can keep moving in with some of those processes or immunizations, things like that. So,
Families in tradition, our numbers, I think, are remaining consistent over the last several years. I think 161 is probably our all-time high, correct me if I'm wrong.
Which we will go beyond this year.
Absolutely, I think I just identified 2 more since this was put up. So I think that just speaks to people coming to our community. Some of it could be doubled up situations. I believe Carla was saying earlier, she think it's like a revolving door syndrome. They leave us, they come back. Boomerang, revolving door, call it what you will. And of course, meeting the needs of those students and families, I think maybe isn't represented on that referral data, because we sometimes, you know, kind of lump everything into one particular box. But I know that a lot of our homeless families and students take up some time just once they are identified and kind of getting them squared away with, you know, whatever needs they have that are gonna help remove any barriers that's gonna prevent them from having success when they are enrolled with us. Obviously, high school, 42, I think that's a big number. Smoketown Middle School, that says 38, we're at 40. The things that we do to help support these students is to make sure that they have all the school supplies that they need upon coming into the building, so that they're not behind the 8 ball. Ensuring that any needs that they have moving forward that is, you know, education related, that we're assisting them, even whether we're providing it or whether we're providing the referral for them to have access to what those needs are: food, clothing, housing,
Transportation.
Transportation's a big one.
The one that I have found really just within the last, I would say, month or two, has been referrals to Church World Services for our families that are coming into our community that are immigrants of some sort. Obviously, we're not allowed to ask those questions, but sometimes those come out in conversations when we're assessing needs. And they have been for me, a significant help in getting families connected to what they do have the right to be connected to once they're here. It has reduced some of the time that we have to spend, or that I've spent, like with medical assistants and SNAP and things like that, because they're connected to the right resource. Anybody else?
I don't think so. So just some trends we're seeing, attendance is a national crisis across, it's not just a CV problem, but we have a lot of kids who are missing a lot of school.
And despite our best efforts, whether it's daily home visits at 7:30 to try to coax kids out of bed, we are doing the best we can, but we're kind of at a loss as to what the next step is. We've tried to reach out to children and youth. They're pretty much like, our resources are drained too, not sure what to tell you. So we're doing the best we can. So just noting that.
With
I'll-
attendance, I'll add to
Okay.
that, because that's been my goal for this school year at the high school. So we are trying to have this upstream kind of thinking. There's a book called Upstream. So we're looking at not just obviously the reasons for attendance, which are important, but how do we catch it early? So with all of our changes that we had with like Power School, we're not getting the robocalls out. So, okay, so that's one thing. Let's let our parents know, and even just email addresses. Let's make sure our parents know who to send an email to. Resources or community, let's get our community involved. So we're building that toolkit for next school year, making sure that we're connecting between high attendance, habitually truant, chronically absent kids from the elementary to the middle school level, from the middle school to the high school level, just to make sure we have those kids on our radar at the very beginning of each school year. So we're learning as we're going, as we are seeing these numbers increase, trying to attend all kinds of conferences and anything that we can to get more information on what else we can do to assist our kids just be at school. So that's that part.
Lack of affordable housing, it's also not just a CV problem. Hoping that some positive things come down the pike with community-based, relationships with like Seeds. They're really focused on trying to help but create new options for families. So just continuing to stay connected with them and in their conversations and supporting those types of initiatives wherever we can. We have some great community supporters for our district, so they're advocating on behalf of getting more affordable housing. So just continuing to look at that. I mean, it's insane. The Bradford, $1,600 for a 2-bedroom. So that's what our families are facing. So that's a lot of money for a very small rental. So most families need more than a 2-bedroom. So that's the market that they're fighting against. You wanna do it?
Yeah, as Jenna had mentioned, an increase in our ELL population coming in from different countries, a lot of Honduras, Guatemala, Haiti, Cuba. So we've seen an increase with our, population coming in. And also the conversations have started and are needed more and more for trauma-informed and restorative justice and education kind of conversations. How do we approach students in a different kind of way? How do we meet students where we are? Again, just adding to the toolbox of our kids that are coming in with a very heavy second invisible backpack, we call it. So, things that we aren't seeing because of the grief, because of the trauma, because of being transient, different things or a combination of all those things. So we're trying to make sure that we are getting the appropriate resources, training, and how to get that out to our staff as well, so.
Any questions?
In our homeless population, does that flux, or are you seeing this sometimes the same families that are almost permanently homeless?
We have a family that's been solidly homeless, living in a hotel for over 5 years. So there is we start the year probably with 40 to 60 probably returning. And then we have more just pulling and so forth. But as of July 1, so our data goes till June 30th, and then we have to recertify everybody as of July 1. So between July 1 and the start of the school year, we contact every single family that was still homeless at the end of the school year. And then we set up transportation, we re-identify them with the state. So we go through a whole process of re-identifying every year.
Katie, can you do me a huge favor?
Sure.
Can you talk, I remember last year when you guys were here, you had said something and it really spoke to me and it made me understand. When you were talking about the hotel situation.
Sure.
And why that is so hard to get out
Yeah. So that particular gentleman who's been living in a hotel with his children for 5 years, he's making enough to meet the $550 weekly rate. So if you look at his income, he's making $550 and times 4, which is whatever that is. So he's making that amount of money, but he's not making more than that to save to get out of that situation. So his electricity, his cable, his house is secured with that income, but he's never making enough to get out of that and save to get out of that. Additionally, hotel rentals don't count as like a solid credit check or a tenant secure, like he could live there and not have had a problem paying for 5 years, but that doesn't mean anything to the landlord who can't go to another landlord and say, how has he been as a tenant? So that's a whole other barrier for him to get out of that situation.
And landlords are looking for savings as well. I mean, the credit score, and to make sure they make 3 times as much. So there's all of these kind of criteria that changed from COVID that makes it 10 times harder for parents or families to get out of situations like that once they're in them.
Like the Bradford, you'd have to have 1,600 times 3 to even apply to get a 2-bedroom apartment.
Thank you,
Mhm.
appreciate that, it just keeps it in perspective.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we don't know what
Yeah,
it's like to be in that situation, so I think it's important to.
for sure. Thank you.
There's a lot of compassion needed to help these people. And this is one of the many keys for student achievement and filling the gap. Because these students are not prepared to learn quite often. We really appreciate the work you do.
Sure. We're happy to do it.
One question, we talked about this last year. Is there anything that we're doing that the county should be doing, the state should be doing? Are we?
This is always a loaded question.
It is,
How long do you
because when you
have?
call the county, our resources are stretched. And do you feel that we're using our resources to do their jobs for them?
I think right now the focus needs to be on housing, and I think it's a big hot topic right now. I know there's supervisors on the East Lampeter board who are actively trying to help us secure options for whether it's rezoning or whatever
Housing.
to get the housing. I firmly believe that this community will come behind an idea and a solution to housing. We just need the right zoning and the right situation to present itself to start making some of these options possible. Big dream, get a hotel, have all of our hotel families live in one spot and give them the necessary programming to get out of that situation. That's the big dream, for me anyway. But, so that, there are so many conversations happening around housing. And I do think we need, as a community larger than Conestoga Valley, needs to work on finding a solution, because it's not sustainable. It's gonna keep getting worse as the gap between the people who can afford it and the people who can't. There's no other alternatives for the people who can't afford it. Shelters are bursting at the seams. So it's just that conversation is what I personally am passionate about trying to find a solution for. I don't know if you have anything more.
I was gonna speak general, about the county, do they kind of rely on us to do their job? I would say absolutely. I feel as though we are more heavily relied upon than what we should be. And I think that trend has been changing through the years, because schools have become more and more and more the collective, for lack of a better word, branch of a social service agency. Kids get some of their medical needs met here. We help with housing, we help with that referral process, and I feel like we are often looked to by the community outside of us in the county to not only do their jobs, but to follow through with their jobs, if you will.
Even
It's, yes.
we had I won't name there was a leasing agency who was evicting a family, they had the nerve to say, call the school, they have money for you. I'm like, you are evicting this family, and it happened twice with the same organization. And I'm like, you cannot evict this family and then tell them to call the school for money. But that's happening, and even children and youth, they're out of money, they're out of their allocated funds this year, and they're telling families, call the school. I'm like,
Well, and I feel like they expect us to do their home visits for them.
Yeah.
They expect us to be their eyeballs on their monthly, what they're supposed to
It
do,
goes,
so.
it goes beyond the county and those organizations, it goes all the way up to the legislature. We keep hearing that so many of these issues, if you keep tracing them back, and I've said this so many times, starts with poverty.
Sure,
And-
absolutely.
The legislature can address poverty and the economy, we can't. But if they recognize that the problem is poverty, then they have to recognize their responsibility.
Sure.
It's much easier, and I remember when the idea of social workers in the public school was unheard of. And as it slowly started, there were a lot of people upset, saying, this isn't what schools do. And everybody is turning their back on their responsibilities here, and we keep picking it up. And this isn't the best vehicle to make this work. I mean, we're a great place to identify these kids, because we see them, for so many hours a day. But we're not the place where these problems should be solved. The other thing you mentioned that caught my attention were all of these gift cards. I know you have better things to do, but I would be really interested in seeing who all they're from, not just the gift cards. We talk about community involvement. That's not just for internships. The number of local businesses and organizations who help support the school in so many ways through these donations. And this is driven in part because the IU does this. They have this entire list of all their partners. At some point, I would love to see that list, and I'd like to make sure that these people are thanked properly.
For ours particularly, the ministerium is where we get some extra from holidays, but the bulk of them, they will say, here, we're gonna allocate $5,000, you guys go get the gift cards you need, and then they pay us back. So, ours are bulk coming from the ministerium,
But I'm sure there's a lot of things that are being done and contributed in this district that need to get properly thanked and recognized.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I'm just gonna add, maybe doesn't mean anything, but I happened to see something yesterday on TV, looking at Houston, Texas. And they really started working on their homeless program through having a house first. And they've deleted their homelessness by like 63% or something.
That's great.
There's
It can be
something workable.
done. It can be
There's
done.
something workable if the right people will look at it.
Absolutely.
I mean,
So, but it matches what you're saying,
Sure,
they
of course.
need a house first.
But it is a community approach, and that's why we put the saying that's up there, which aligns with Ubuntu, which is an African state phrase with restorative justice. It's not about you, it's not about me, it's about we and working as one, because none of it can happen in this different silos. And that's why, for us, we're constantly working together. We're constantly working together with you, with our, administrators, with our school psychs. It's a constant shift of that, and making sure that we are bringing parents into it, because I think with educators, we're like, okay, we got this, we can do this, and we just take care of the kids' needs, but we are shifting, especially with the attendance piece, to make sure that we are bringing parents into it, and the kids have a voice, and our community, and making sure that we are working together. So
Well, we will never fill the learning gap until everyone is learning ready. And that's what these kids need. Thank you for your work, and thank you for your work.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Upton, you are going to bring us up to date on the CBVA. one of our prize programs.
Love it. So Mel Upton, Administrator for Non-Traditional Learning Career Readiness, K through 12. So I'm the principal for a virtual academy program. So each year I try to highlight a couple of different aspects of the program, just sort of keep you up to date with where we are and how we're growing and what we're focusing on. You'll notice in the commendations that Dory Shetter and Laura Odell were recently presented at Keola conference. Keola is Capital Area Online Learning Association. We are sort of under that umbrella. And we also just presented last week at the IU, at the Enrich Virtual Forum. So with those two things happening, I thought that I would sort of bring to you that sort of same idea of why these different school districts and these different organizations are coming to us and asking us to present. So I'll give you some highlights here. So just to sort of show the trajectory, our program started in 2007. A lot of times when people think of virtual learning, they think of COVID, and that was not virtual learning, that was triage. We started our program in 2007, and with Dr. Mann's vision have been growing ever since then. We went from being a credit recovery focus for our students to, in 2018, opening our in-person learning centers and cafes, which allows to have that in-person connection that a lot of places are missing. You can see that we sort of managed that 2020 COVID impact where our numbers really swelled because they, particularly at the elementary, where families just weren't sure really how they wanted their children to be educated, and now we've gone back to sort of the normalcy up there. The number says 239 students right now. That this is an old number from last week. We've added 6 since then, so it constantly sort of changes. You can see in 2021-22 we joined Keola and LLVS. LLVS is Lancaster Lebanon Virtual Solutions. That's the IU branch of Keola. And we're very excited to soon be opening our new elementary learning center at New Smoketown. You can see we have 3 coordinators, 28 secondary teachers. Our student services facilitator is students with IEPs, GIEPs, 504s, and our Ls, and then our 1 full-time elementary teacher. There are the numbers broken down. If you're curious, you can see that at the high school, that's our largest number, 185 students take advantage of the program there. Again, that's changed since last week, but 64 of those are full-time, 121 blended. That's really where we're growing at the secondary levels with the blended. And our students want CVVA for such a variety of reasons. Everything from, you had mentioned internships, to some of our students who are homeless or have split living arrangements. We have students who need something to work out so they can go to CTC, students who are suddenly being looked at by colleges for athletics, but they didn't have the right NCAA approved courses when they were in like 9th or 10th grade. We have our athletes. We have a student who is in world competitions for Irish dance. Of course, our Olympic athlete that we recently had, Casey Kaufhold. Scheduling issues. I mean, it is all over the place, but that's really where we're growing the most is in that sort of blended and the high school scheduling there. You can see at the middle school and elementary school. Our special services, that's a fairly high caseload, so 70 in total there, with 25 being the full-time, and then I split it by grade. At the 12 plus, every year we have some students who did not earn their diploma, and they don't want to necessarily come back full-time in person with people who might know them and know that they didn't earn that diploma, so they'll go through us and end up graduating. So this year we have one who's doing that. So just to highlight some of the things that make us different, and that's why these school districts and these organizations are coming to us. And I would say first and foremost is our elementary learning center. And you're going to see several slides of photos of our youngest learners. And I think they just really tell the story better than I do. So I figured you'd rather look at them. And so what we really try to provide at our learning center is this inviting and relaxed environment where the students can come in and they can get academic support, but they can also get their social emotional learning. Elementary particularly, we do not want our students to feel isolated, so when they are learning exclusively at home with a parent or an adult in the house, if they don't have other outside entities, sports, church, clubs, that they're a part of, we want to make sure that they have that access to other students that are their age, to their peers. And so they can do that in the center. So they can come in for the academics, for the SEL, and also for particularly STEAM, art camp, cooking club, so those sort of enrichment activities. That's just another slide that sort of shows you a little bit about that. It's also a time where when we notice, specifically really with the primary grades, that the online programs that we use don't necessarily hit phonics in the way that we would like, then Dory and Laura will run sessions of Foundations and Haggerty to make sure that they are getting that strong foundation that their parents aren't necessarily able to help them with. You really need specialists who know how students, how children learn to read. And so we provide that as an extra that you don't get in outside cyber for sure, but also don't get in the programs that we use exclusively online. And there are some of our in-person experiences that again make us different, the STEAM and the tech and the LLVS, the IU13, they offer some events and some of our students will go and attend those. We'll do educational excursions, which are sort of like field trips, but we say bring the family. And so, a lot of families don't have the opportunity to go out and take advantage of some of these opportunities, so we'll set them up or we will put it out there, everything from park play dates to going to Lake Tobias and then the families can come and they can bring the toddler, they can bring grandma, and it's really just a family community centered event. So monthly, Dory puts out the schedule that looks exactly like that the families sign up for the different events. That helps us to plan and to make sure that we can provide what each student needs as far as their academics and as well as making sure that we have enough supplies for our enriching events. So those go out monthly, and then the families can sign up throughout the month to make sure that they can have access to everything that we can provide. And some of those also are online. We do have families that do not want any in-person events whatsoever, and so what we do is we will provide some activities online where we can get some of the kids together, in sort of Zoom rooms and do some activities that way so that they aren't left out of having that peer experience. They just don't have it in person. Middle level, so at Huskin Middle School, again, we try to focus on both academics and social emotional learning. So the character strong lessons that they have in the elementary and the high school in person and the middle school in person courses, we provide those as well. We have the teacher support in the sense that while it is outside of the middle school teacher's contract day, they still provide the virtual office hours that our high school teachers provide. And so the students can have access to our teachers sort of face-to-face, with that online time that they can hop in whenever they need to, or they can make an appointment, or the teacher can assign it and say, hey, I noticed you're struggling with writing paragraphs. I want you to come in office hours tomorrow. I'll help you through that. So they still get that teacher support. It is taught by our teachers, which makes us unique. We do make sure that we are at that level really working on some of that 21st century skill development. So really hitting the profile with them, making sure that there's learning how to collaborate even if they are, full-time virtual, that they're learning how to communicate when they're sending in emails, and Jim Moore, the middle school coordinator, says, you really can't address teachers by their first name, that's not how this works, or, you know, you can't just say, I need help with this assignment, but not tell us what assignment. So he really works on how to get them to communicate in a way that gets their needs met, and that's part of that 21st century. And there are some pictures of the cyber cafe. Again, it's that in-person support that the students can come in. They will have different contests. The second photo there, you see they are creating you know, some marble rollers and things like that. So we try to do some of those hands-on problem-solving activities, really hit the profile that way in the learning center. And at that level, we call it an internet cafe. High school CBVA, you'll notice that most of the photos on this page are of our teachers. And like I said, that does really make us unique. The fact that we have 28 secondary teachers that are dedicated to the program in some way. At the high school level, they have a block or two in their schedule, depending on whether they are the only teacher in that discipline or if they are sharing that with another teacher. So that's something that a lot of the schools have come to us and asked, you know, sort of how we manage that, because that's really what they want as well, that touch. We use 3 different programs at the high school: Accelerate Ed and eDynamic. So Accelerate Ed is the majority of our core courses. eDynamic has really phenomenal career-related and the elective courses. And then we do have 2 courses that are on Schoology because they're just too unique to be offered anywhere else. We have Singletons, where they only take 1 course, so they blend it, and then the full-time options. And the other piece of this that I really wanted to highlight that makes it different, that on the next slide, next 2 slides I believe, are really the secondary coordinator role. So at the elementary, the coordinator role is very hands-on with the individual students, particularly in person, and running the virtual sessions, you know, with those students, whether they're academic or social emotional. At the secondary level, because we have the teachers who are teaching the coursework, really what Jim and Dr. Annette Facera do is they are the liaison with the students and all of the other people who need to be involved with those students. So the counselors and the SAP team and any of our sort of career-related services. They do all the progress monitoring. You can ask them any day where one of their students is in relation to their coursework, and they can tell you because they track it every single day for all 200 and some students. They oversee all the attendance, the internet cafes, they make sure that those are staffed, they go to the court truancy hearings with me, they manage the Keystone exams and any kind of special transportations that we need, and all sorts of scheduling. The next slide shows even more, you know, with the home visits that they do and the field trips that they run, lots of graduation meetings. They are members of the SAP teams as well. They meet weekly with the counselor. So it really is a phenomenal piece of this program that helps it to run that a lot of the other districts don't have. And there you can see the high school internet cafe photos. So just an overview, you know, sort of how we're growing, where we're going. At the high school, next year we'll have 63 courses that the kids can select from. 3 are offered only CVVA, and anyone can take them who wants them. That's our cybersecurity course, that's our history of the Holocaust, and also social media for business. And so we are now starting that realm where it's not only what we offer in person, but with the cyber feel, it is now moving to courses that we can't offer in person just due to scheduling and other things, so we can offer it through there.
Questions? Comments?
You're amazing.
For
real, like
Thank you, yes,
is
the
really
team of the coordinators and the teachers are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't beat it. I gush about them all the time because they're awesome.
To connect this with our last one, do we have any of our homeless involved in this?
Yeah, quite a number of our homeless students will, and students who have split housing arrangements and things like that, but, and our coordinators will go out to the hotels and meet them out there to do their orientations, to make sure their technology works, to get them hotspots if needed, things like that. So that they can continue to be CV students, even if their day-to-day does not make it easy to do so.
Is available Wi-Fi a big problem? Or isolated
Not
problem?
usually, it's, isolated. We can help them with that, so if we do find out that it's a problem, we can do that. We do have some machines that have Wi-Fi essentially within them, but then we also do have a select number of hotspots. But particularly our students who are living like on Route 30, they can access Wi-Fi from, restaurants and things that have open Wi-Fi. So there's usually quite a number of options, but if the options aren't available, then we make them available for them.
Are our numbers in other cyber programs going down, do you know?
They are not necessarily going down, but we're keeping them from going out there. So we are actually making a push, a big marketing push this summer. We're meeting with Katie Odell on June 5th and finishing up our marketing materials, and then we're going out and knocking on doors. And we are, Dory Shetter is holding multiple open houses this summer once the new elementary learning center is open, to try to really get some of those cyber families back. About $1.3 million walks out our door, and it drives me insane. Those cyber, I can't get started on the cyber schools, and I use the term school lately. But one thing that's really helped us is that keeping them in-house, as soon as we find out that there's someone who is interested in possibly going out, we try to grab them. And just to kind of give you an idea of those numbers, so when you're looking at CCA, so Commonwealth Charter Academy, is our biggest competitor. So they're charging us $12,645.33 per regular ed student. They're charging us $30,439.49 for students that have IEPs. So we have 64 full-time regular ed students in our program. That at their cost would equal out to $809,295.36. And 14 of our 25 students with special needs, whether, so I'm looking only at IEPs, I'm not looking at our GIEPs and our Ls and our 504s, that would equal out to be $426,152.86 for a total of $1,235,748.22. And so looking at that, while we are definitely trying to bring back other cyber, we brought back 5 this year. My goal over the summer is to 10 or more, preferably more. But looking at what we can do in-house that keeps them from going out. Now, I didn't count any of our blended students because that's something that they can do because we offer it. I don't know if they would be going out for other services or not, but our full-time presumably would be out of our building. And so essentially our number would be doubled if we didn't have the incredible program that you were talking about. So working on it.
So just for our new board members, it's a line item on the budget. So you're writing a check to other places to educate their kids.
Do all of our cyber students take PSSAs and PVAS and all of that?
So yes, that they are all involved in all of that, except for those who do opt out. So if the parent opts them out. But yep, PSSAs, Keystones, they came in for ASVABs if they were in 10th grade.
Do we have enough students to do a kind of PSSA report, by grade level, how well they do, how many of them are proficient?
I think we could probably do that. It depends, what time of year they're coming in and out of the program, but I could look and see,
what
just
I'm
in
thinking
general.
is, I have seen the numbers for some of the private cyber schools. And I understand those numbers because I'm bad at math and those numbers are really small.
That is absolutely true, as well as their graduation rate.
If they were public schools, the state would have taken them over.
Yeah, they would have.
But we continue to make people think that just because there's choice that it's better.
Right.
And I'd like to be able to say, here's what our cyber kids
Yeah.
do. When it's done
It's-
right.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It is very difficult to fight against the budget that they have for those schools. Just to give you an idea, I was at the Reading Phillies opening night the other night, and they had a bobblehead that they were giving away of a baseball player, and it had his walk-up song. So it's a bobblehead that actually plays music as well. And it was sponsored by PA Cyber, and they gave away 4,000 of those. So let's just say that it was $5 a piece, which I'm sure it wasn't for, the cost. They can give away 4,000. No school in the state could do that, no district, so. So hopefully some of the things are changing. There's some bills out there, so.
Well, I hate to give you bad news. I've heard that there's a lot of chatter finally this year about cyber schools, and today I was told it was being pushed off the table.
Oh, no. They were getting so far with it. I was so hopeful. Yeah.
The thing is, it would not cost the state a dime to rein this in.
Mhm.
And we would get much more money in our budgets to apply to our programs.
Yeah.
Without it costing the state anything, we're just, not spending it on that so we can spend it where it's more useful.
Yeah.
And you would think that the legislature would be happy to be able to do something that didn't cost them anything,
Sure.
but it
Well, it
will.
doesn't come out of their budget, it comes out of our budget.
Yeah, but what I mean is
Bills.
to allow us to recoup those money, doesn't cost them a dime. It's not like we're asking them to, dip into their revenues.
Sure.
But we are asking them to dip into their campaign.
And then when these cyber schools fold, these kids come back and they're usually so far behind that it just adds stress to the system.
But we're happy to have them.
Understand, I get it.
So come on back.
Yeah, well, there's always that hope that somebody will resurrect this, but in 20 years, we have not been able to move the needle on this.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating. Yeah, 20 years of money going down the drain.
Yeah.
On that high note,
I'm wondering, I have a question. Is it appropriate to ask approximately how many students do we have in the private charter schools or cyber schools?
oh, yeah.
That, I
Yeah,
would
we
get
track
that
that.
for you. It's
We
on
get-
that LIU comes out with a report that I think I
Yeah.
shared.
Yeah, we get that report
Yeah.
annually.
We've got about 77 students in the outside cyber schools.
7, yeah, okay,
There are 20
thank you.
elementary kids that I'm targeting.
Is that leveled off at all?
That's Dory Shutter, the
It's
elementary
level
coordinator,
off.
if you don't know Dory.
Yeah.
Well, then we're
Yeah, with COVID, it went way up and then it's kind of, it stayed there. But this year we were seeing a few drop off. But actually, we've had some more students that have IEPs have enrolled, so even
Yeah.
though the numbers might be down slightly, our costs aren't going down.
Okay.
And those with IEPs, the ones I really worry about, because oftentimes
They don't
we're
provide
not
those
getting the
services.
services that we're paying for.
Right.
Any more high notes? Thank you, we really appreciate the way this program is being run and has been built.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the point in our agenda where if the public would like to make any comments on an agenda item, they're welcome to address us. Any comments from CVEA? No?
thank
Well, I'm glad you're happy with us. And the other employee groups. And the other employee groups. If not, we will move on to the consent agenda. Before I take a motion, are there any issues to be discussed on this agenda? I will tell you, you were reviewing some of these policies. You good on them now?
Yeah, and that was that was 800.
Oh, is that the 800?
Yeah, that was in the
Okay,
800s.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues.
I find the more often I read a policy, I can read it every day for 30 days and every day come up with, oh, I missed that before.
Right.
So I do have some grammatical things that we don't need to worry about, that I'll I'll move on. But I did catch one thing that I just wanted to make note of. We used to have a policy on memorials in that unpleasant situation where we lose a student and the parents or family would like to put in a memorial. There for a while, we sort of lost control over that. And it became who had the money to put up the biggest memorial. We had to stop that. And I didn't notice that done. Does that exist elsewhere in guidelines or administrative directives?
That might, because I know we do have a.
We do have one.
We do,
I
we do.
remember
Yeah, it might be in a
that
different.
somewhere.
It's,
Okay.
I think it's 800, I think it's in the 800s and it's
Okay,
maybe
the
under the title, it might have been
Of course,
joined.
this
Naming
title
rights
had
and
also included the word
Yes.
memorials.
Yep,
And I thought, wait a minute, I didn't see anything about that. Okay,
It's- yeah.
I'll hunt better for that. If there are no concerns, then I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
second,
Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Martin,
aye.
Mrs. Fisher,
Aye.
Mr. Hurst,
Aye.
Mrs. Kapka,
Aye.
Mr. Talley, Mr. Eby,
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge,
Aye.
Mrs. Groff.
Aye. So that gets passed unanimously. Another downer.
Budget?
Well, it's never good when
Gotta keep the lights on.
when we're talking taxes, it's just not a celebration.
Yeah.
It's for a good cause.
No, she does sometimes bring us good news though.
Well, not tonight, so. We'll just start
Like
that
I
out right there.
said, and, yeah, as I remember, we had asked you at the last meeting to bring us some
Yeah, some
comparisons.
Yes, so this PowerPoint, the first two slides are new. The others are just more for reference, if you wanted to look back at what we have in capital and what we have in, and for staffing. So last week I presented you with a proposed budget with a 3.3% millage rate increase. And you've asked me to do some homework and come back to you with various scenarios. So on the first slide, I gave you scenarios with different millage rate increases. And what the first line that shows the deficit, you can see that's the deficit while I'm including $300,000 of the high school roof restoration. It's coming out of general fund and we're gonna pay for it out of capital reserve. Down below that deficit number, just trying to come up with a scenario, okay, if we take the entire amount of the high school roof restoration out of capital reserve, where does that get us? And you can see with 3%, 3.3%, we're pretty much at a break even with the budget. If we go less than that, my number obviously gets larger to try to balance and find some other cuts. So we have a couple different ideas, but I at least wanted to get some initial feedback from you looking at these scenarios. And then on the next page, just as an FYI too, I have a 10-year history of what the Act 1 index has been, and then what our actual millage rate percentage increase was, and then what was the cost to the homeowners.
The PowerPoint crashed, so we're trying to get it.
It did that last week too, it's me.
We can at least see it on the iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, on the second, or the first slide with all the numbers, at the very bottom of the row is what the impact is for the cost of a homeowner using those different millage increases. So yeah, and the one area I want to point out too, and I know I said this last week, and I know that you're well aware of it, we have no idea how much basic ed subsidy that we're going to get from the state. Of that large equity piece, of 1.8 million, I have half of that already included in our budget. It's possible that we wouldn't get all of that or maybe even any of it, so that will be another challenge for us, obviously, at that point. And then two, we just passed a 5-year teacher contract with an average increase of 4.4%, or 4.0%, sorry.
jog my memory, what was the percent increase that you proposed last week?
3.3,
Okay,
that's on,
that was the last column, okay.
yes, that's the last column, yes.
I couldn't remember.
And as I mentioned before, sometimes it looks like the percentage has been kept down,
Mhm.
but it's based on a larger number. So the actual tax bill for everyone grows by a larger gross number than we might be comfortable with.
Mhm. Yeah, just as a point too, our capital reserve fund, we currently have over $7 million in it. And that's kind of grown over the years, so that's why I'm not too concerned about taking this roof project out of the capital reserve. That's kind of also a backup plan too, if we don't get any of that, or don't get any or all of that basic ed subsidy, I still can rely on the capital reserve fund. We only like to use that for what we consider one-time expenditures, because we couldn't sustain it otherwise. So any thoughts?
At this point, you've not touched programs at all?
No.
And I noticed everything that the request for maintenance and staff have all stayed the same.
Yes.
I mean, I'll say, of course, like any taxpaying citizen, I'd love to see the lowest number possible. But, I mean, looking at this, I would say I think the 3%, I mean, I know it's only $10 between that and a 3.3, but trying to keep it under that $100, I think is just, that's at least good. And then not counting on, in case we don't get that extra 50% that you're factoring in there, I feel like if we're running too large of a deficit and then that gets taken out also, I don't wanna put us in too tight of a spot. I mean, it's just my 2 cents, I don't know.
Yeah.
If anybody else thinks.
I think for me, going up to that $100 increase is too much.
So going even less than that?
Yep. You may not like this, but I'm looking at the 2.25.
I'm looking at a higher number. Historically, like past 2 years, we've been around the 100, last year was a little lower, but we're also having increased spending needs to spend the money. And
Well,
things
don't
aren't getting cheaper.
You've only been at
And we have to
100
keep the
once,
lights
and
on.
that was 2 years ago. You know, and here we are already.
2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 was 97, so a 3% would work for me because it's under that 100. But with the prices of things that are going to continue, I don't want to be tapping into things, especially when we have all this construction debt.
And I don't want to be tapping into too much out of our residents' pockets. So I don't
It's a rock and a hard
know,
place.
well, we've had what, 2 or 3 of us
Can I ask
weigh in, yeah.
no
Yeah,
question?
yeah, you're allowed
So,
to ask.
as far as in, like, can I ask your professional comfort as far as in like between the 2.25, 2.5, like with those deficits, do you think you could make it work with any of those, or like some of those throwing up huge red flags to you?
In all honesty, my opinion is that the 2.25 would be very difficult, especially if we don't get all of that basic ed subsidy. I stared at my computer screen looking at this all last week too, and just trying to spin on these numbers, even at 2:30 this morning, and can't sleep sometimes. One area that I'm, again, a little hesitant, but for last year and this year, I've been seeing our healthcare rates trend down. I think we had a couple years where they went up primarily because of COVID, and then also because of COVID, people had postponed some procedures, so that kind of ramped up those costs for a couple years. I'm seeing it level off to a degree. So, if we did a 2.75, I could say that 119,000. Again, we're going to have changes between now and next month in June. But 2.75, I could use some of the reserves we have in our healthcare fund to balance that out.
And you have no idea when you would find out about us getting that?
Might be November.
Okay.
Just curiosity,
Yes.
did you run 5.3, which is what they're recommending?
Oh, yeah, no.
Just to see what it would be.
I think I did when that first came out,
I'm
and
like, oh, this would be nice.
Why
Yeah,
would
that
you
would-
do that?
why would I? Just curious.
Just curious, yeah.
Well,
There's some emails floating around today from other business managers in, the county, and nobody else is going up to the 5.3. That's just, it's high, but that index does reflect the increased cost that we're facing with gasoline, electricity, diesel, fuel, oil, heating oil, as well as just everything else, and trying to support the salaries so that we can remain competitive. And we're at a point right now too where we're all but fully staffed everywhere, which is a nice feeling.
anyone else like to weigh in?
I think I'd be comfortable with the 2.75, if you feel like that's like reasonable to work with, I could be satisfied with that.
I would agree.
As much as the 2.25 would be fabulous, but
yeah.
it just
I know.
doesn't seem,
Well, I'm
Realistic,
comfortable
like, let's
moving
be
up
real.
one column, which is to the 2.5.
One
It's
other
gonna
side of the
t-
table.
It's gonna take beating my head against a brick wall a little bit to go up another row.
Yeah, don't beat your head
Yeah, we
against
still
the
have two
brick
people over here left.
yeah.
And we want to keep the electricity on, because if you have the electricity off, you might stumble over a really big heavy box and do things.
Their insurance, and we'll be paying more.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd be comfortable with 275.
And what I can do is come back to you in May with the proposed final budget, which I would need approved that evening. It's just the way the calendar falls. Typically, you have to have the budget 30 days, proposed budget 30 days in advance of the final budget. So it'd be the first meeting. I can come back to you hopefully with some more updated information. And if anything is really going to help us out, we can look at the 2.5, but I can have a scenario of 2.75.
What do you think, Mike?
I'm gonna go with Mrs. Groff, because I think she just needs some support.
Okay. How about you, Phil?
I think 2.75, same as last year.
I was gonna say, I try to think of myself as a moderate, so the middle is.
Oh, we just need to fix
That
that
little
so there's
column
more
is-
columns.
Yeah, I
in
could
there.
have added more columns to put 3.3 in the middle.
We can take a graph and make it say anything, yeah. I'm really, when I move up to 2.5, I get stuck, but I understand most of the board is good with 2.75, but just to give us, to get me to get that extra column, I need to see something hurting. I
It
need to
is
see
200,000 on
programs.
a pretty large budget, so I'm sure that through the year, it can be.
Yeah, but I look at it strictly from
You
what it
do,
looks like
you
to
do.
the
It's a budget.
taxpayer.
Mhm.
What are they gonna see when they open that envelope?
Yeah.
Wow.
Ain't an earful when the envelope comes, so.
Yeah,
But they also want teachers in the classroom, you have to pay competitive salary to have teachers in the classroom,
Yeah,
therefore you
oh.
have to pay it with your taxes
oh,
and your millage rate. So
absolutely, I get it.
it's
It
that
costs money to
critical
run,
thinking.
to run a school district, it costs more to run a good school district. I
It
get
does.
that, I really do.
And you don't wanna go to hole, but I would like to kind of experiment with a lower rate, just to see if we can make it work.
Yeah, okay, so that, we're in those two
If we can.
columns.
Okay,
Well, without counseling.
2.5 and 2.75, okay.
No, 250 and 275.
Do you have to go in those
said it wrong.
increments of 0.25? Do you have to go in those increments? Or
Oh, no, you can do whatever.
You can do whatever?
Yeah.
You want that one too?
No, what's that?
2.74.
No, 2.6.
Yeah.
2.625.
Right in the middle.
Split it again.
What's the difference? Trying to build a bridge here,
Yeah, I understand that.
trying to cross the aisle.
That's really nice.
Build a bridge.
We need that.
Sometimes though, we have so many columns, you
We
can't pick anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
At some point, you have to make this a smaller choice. So, is that it?
That's it.
We
So I got-
appreciate you, Adele.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Thank you for
Certainly
giving
do.
us
Don't
this
sit
problem.
Yeah, I
That's what we
lose sleep over
I know
everything
you,
right now,
but it's,
so thank you all very much, and thanks for making the budget presentation humorous too.
Are there any comments or concerns out of the finance and operations report? Same thing on curriculum construction. Any concerns, any issues, any comments? Dr. Hartman, do we have any federal funds?
We have federal funds, we just don't have any
No,
report on
no.
the federal funds. This evening, their report this evening.
Okay, thank you. I have my IU report posted. I wanted to bring up one thing about the IU report. We are finalizing next month the purchase of Jonestown Elementary School in Lebanon. The joint authority is the one that makes the purchase, and then we lease it from them, but again, we're doing this mortgage-free. And it's going well. We're finally going to be able to give Lebanon a lot of the services and ease off some of the pressures in the Lancaster ones. I will add, I mentioned this before, but I'll be more specific. The transfer from entities, there were only 2, and we were one of them. We brought a class back. But we have had enough requests that we would need another 6 to 8 classrooms. It's getting so, we seem to be able to find teachers, but we don't find paras and PDAs. And without them, we can't accept the students. Now, if we can't find the PCAs, if we can't find the PCAs for a student, neither can their home district. But their home district is legally required to give that service. So how you do that, I don't know, but it's getting there. Because I don't know that we will be able to fill the extra 6-day classrooms that are required for what we're being asked to do. So they have a wonderful staff over there that works on it. Moving on to the PSBA report, it is there. As I said, charter school funding seemed to be at least still discussed. Today, I read a report that said it was being pushed aside. I don't know how true that is, but it's to be seen. The student teacher stipend, I don't know if you caught that. They opened the applications yesterday, got several thousand applicants for 650 stipends. So a lot of student teachers who were hoping, and I don't know how they'll decide, it's just gonna be the first 650 applications that show up on their website or not. I don't know how they're doing it. But I was told that there were college students staying up until they could get it in immediately. I would make one change. I don't know if any of you are attending the new Directors Monthly Exchange, but that's the 18th this month instead of the first Thursday. Lancaster County Academy, we have increased our populations up to 87. And we are working now on renewing some communications that became problematic in the past. And that's my report. So CTC, anything interesting happening over there?
I attached their March newsletter, but I was out of the country last meeting, I wasn't able to attend it, so nothing
Okay.
for this month.
There is no real construction team report, if I'm correct, this month, but does anyone have any questions related to any of the projects? Don't want to dig that up, huh? Okay.
it would be nice to get a plan of people moving into the new building, and then the plan to move the kids from Leola to the,
You mean the timetable?
timetable plan. I just
Yeah.
don't want
Well,
to
it's,
move everyone in, notifying on a Friday to a Monday.
I don't know if I'm still correct, I was told that technically the building will be done anytime now, but that doesn't mean it's prepared for move-in,
Sure.
because there's always so much else.
C of As, all that kind of stuff.
Some idea of
But it'd be nice to
exactly
get a high
when.
level timeline, you know. What
September.
would that look like?
September, we'll be
Okay.
ready for next school
Well-
year, I think.
I hope August, cause school starts in August.
Yeah, but I don't wanna move in late August.
Yeah.
I wanna give more time, let's just say I wanna give more time for people to move in.
Okay,
We do have a plan,
Jill
I mean,
stepped out, I was
yeah,
gonna
Jill
say.
stepped out, but the elementary, that's already been all coordinated.
coordinated, it's
When their
good.
move-in days are, we're waiting on, we don't have to, it's looking like switch gear is gonna be a holdup, that's not gonna be shipped until July, but we figured that, Frank, you can probably speak better to this than I can, but we don't think that's gonna be a huge deterrent, we don't need that in place for
No
the
busing
move-in.
issues with getting the kids to where they need to go and emptying out that Neola school while it gets renovated.
I think we're in good shape as far as that goes.
Okay, I'm good.
is there anyone from the public that would like to address the board on any given issue? Yes, Mrs. Tyson.
I don't do it often, but
Yeah, but we listen when you do.
Diane Tyson, for those of you who do not know me.
And who would that be?
Been here for 23 years, all the time. I really would encourage the board to set aside, we're looking at 123. I think you're gonna do it maybe next month. I was here for all the discussion last year, as far as I know, and that was over multiple meetings, it wasn't just a one meeting thing. As far as I know, in 23 years, I can't remember a policy that was ever reopened when nothing changed because there were new board members, and believe me, I've seen a lot of changes in this board over those years. I just see it not being a prudent use of your time and energy and potentially my tax dollars down the road. I think you came up with a good policy given the legal atmosphere that is right now, and nothing has changed since you made that policy. I think to revisit it basically says to the public that you don't trust our superintendent and our athletic director and our principal to make a good decision should this ever remotely have a chance of coming up to their attention. You know, they're gonna do what's in the best interest, I think, for the safety of the students and the school district. So to reopen this policy is just, especially after what you've heard tonight from the social workers, and there's so many more things and so many more students and things that need time and attention than this one tiny thing that might affect one person. It's just not a good use of your time and energy. It really isn't. So think long and hard about that before you meet next week.
Thank you. I will just make a note that we did agree last time to move it to the agenda for the work
Working
session,
session.
for the work session next month. And when it comes up, we can take Mrs. Tyson's advice or work on it. So we will go over that then. Are there any other comments? For board initiatives, I have one. I have at your place a resolution. I was visited by someone from the school district of Lancaster today. And as you know, they were one of the plaintiffs in the funding bill lawsuit that took so long. So they are very, as are many urban schools, really deeply into the taxing issue. They have asked if we would be willing to, reword this with our names and pass this resolution. It's not on the agenda, so we're not going to deal with it tonight. But if you agree, I will have it written up so it looks like our resolution, and you can decide if you want to wade in those waters. It's something we don't do very often for whatever reason on this board. Not that we're not into advocacy, but we're not into resolutions. But they have asked that. They also asked me if we would contact Mr. Martin, which can be like beating your head against a wall. He's very much ensconced in his position on funding and cyber schools and all of that, but there's some days when maybe you feel like doing that and then, tackling that. So is there any reason why you would not want to look at this? I know you don't have time to read it now, that's what I'm saying. We can pass on it next time, but at least it would be in a form, if it's okay with you, to have that available for next month. Hearing no objections, I'm assuming it's okay. Any other board concerns or initiatives anyone is interested in bringing up? If not, the dates of next month's meeting are posted. And if you are prepared, I will take a motion to adjourn to executive session for legal and personnel reasons.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
So here we have.